Here this time, I'll call the Budget and Purchasing Committee to order and ask for roll call, please, Ashley.
Kirby. Lewis. Mitchell.
Here.
Moon. Samples. You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I'll now ask if there's any input on items on the agenda. Okay, seeing none. Item D1, sole source purchases. Item D1 and 2 are for information only. Item D3, resolution declaring surplus. Teresa, you want to come to the podium? Do I have a motion? Have a motion and a second. Does anyone have any questions for Teresa or discussion?
Table's too large to fit, that's the only item.
That's the only item.
Okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kirby. Yes. Lewis. Mitchell.
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Samples. The motion's passed.
Item E, the minutes. The minutes need approval. They're in your packet. You've had time to review them. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Have a motion. Do I have a second? Do I have any discussion? I'll ask for a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Declare the motion passed. Item F, finances, increases, decreases, and transfers. Next, with these finance portion of the agenda, F1A, Sheriff Fund 101, $87,730.59 for disaster relief reimbursement. Randy, will you talk, or Jeff, would you like to talk on this?
I can, if there's any questions. This is just a reimbursement for some damages, as you can see in the explanation, for vehicles that we had in the storm.
Do I have a motion? Moving on. Have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, discussions, any questions for Jeff?
Estimated revenue other, $66,764. The $20,000 comes from disaster relief. Can you tell me what the other is?
I'm going to defer that to accounting.
I can address that. This matter and the item F1D are the same issue. The county in fiscal 11-12, I believe, applied for a grant as a result of the damage that was done in the area, and there were a number of our vehicles that were damaged, mostly in the Sheriff's Department, the Highway Department. Used money, I think, for cleanup in the county. As I understand it, we got all that money in via wire transfer and booked it, so it became part of fund balance. We didn't spend any of the money because the departments, the Highway Department nor the Sheriff's Department, even knew we'd gotten the money in. So this is to now close those grants out and replace the vehicles that were damaged, and the Highway Department does not need any additional money, but this allows them to reflect money they'd already spent in their budget.
Okay, anytime I see other, probably just so the agenda.
Glad you do. We want to make sure it's disclosed. So all this, most of this money is already in fund balance. It was just never spent. So it has to be appropriated. That's what you're being asked to do now.
Any other questions? I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Kirby. Yes. Mitchell.
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Samples. The motion's passed.
Okay, F1B, $3,000 on the sex offender registry. Do I have a motion to pass this on to the agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
And a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion with any questions for Mr. French? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kirby. Yes. Mitchell.
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Samples. The motion's passed.
F1C, Emergency Management Fund, decrease is $194,890. Randy, you want to discuss this?
This basically reflects all the activity to close out certain grants that we've applied for and actually appropriate money in the appropriate spots for them to now spend those grant proceeds. Is that correct? Do I need to clarify that? Correction. We put appropriations in to spend the money, and it is not to that point where we'll be spending it, so we're cleaning the budget side up.
Bill, we sent it on to the agenda committee, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Sir, I'm looking at the right end on the 2 side. It's 184,66151 on revenue of 194,890. It's a discrepancy in the balancing. All right.
10,228 on
I
page
see.
2.
Thank you.
Okay.
Instead of 184,
That's,
Yes.
It totals 194.
194, okay.
Any other discussion? Any other questions? I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kirby? Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
yes.
Samples? The motion's passed.
Item F1D, Highway Fund, $8,599.48 for disaster relief reimbursement. Randy, this is all part of that grant that,
Yes.
you have a motion. Do I have a second? Any other discussion? Ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kirby? Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes.
Samples? The motion's passed.
Item F1E, School Fund 141, $3,286 for adult education grant. Troy, would you like to explain that?
We received an additional increase in state grant funding for adult ed, I think for a little more civics instruction.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussions or questions?
Is that 100% grant, Troy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Ask for roll call vote, please.
Kirby? Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes.
Samples? The motion's passed.
Move on now into transfers. Item F2A, accounting, $9,100 for software maintenance. Rand-
Move to send it
Got-
on to the
got a-
agenda committee.
Okay, you've got a motion. Do I have a second? Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Does anybody have any questions for Randy? Any, no questions? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Kirby?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes.
Samples? The motion's passed.
Item F2B, maintenance, $6,682.64 for a floor scrubber purchase. Do I have a motion? Go ahead.
Skip.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Counting 30,000.
I don't have, it's not on, hang on. I don't have it in mine.
On mine.
Item F2B, software upgrade trustee's office.
Okay. It's not on my agenda either.
This is a total of $30,000 worth of adjustments we're making to various accounts and splitting property tax between general county, schools, debt service fund, and Maryville and Alcoa's agency funds.
Mine says it's software upgrade in trustee's office.
Well, that's 91, that's F2A.
I'm looking at F2B.
That's what it is on this one.
It's on there, but it's
Oh.
not on the agenda.
How's it on mine?
No,
We should be on F1D. Is that what everybody's on?
B, Doc, boy, F2B. We just did a $9,100 F2A.
Okay, F2B.
Yeah, B like boy.
Okay. I don't have this, the trustee.
Transfer.
Okay. You want to move on, you want to skip that and move on to F, I guess it's going to be F2C? Okay. All right, that's a scrubber, a floor scrubber purchase. Do I have a motion to send it on? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any discussions? Anybody have any questions? We've got Damon here if you need to. No questions? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Kirby? Lewis? Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes.
Samples? The motion's passed.
Okay. F2D is debt service, $200,000 property purchase. Randy, will you explain that?
Yes, when we sold the Drug Task Force building, when we closed out that transaction and paid off the debt, we actually had it accounted for twice, so we're removing one of those.
Okay, do I have a motion to move it on? Do I hear a second?
I'll second it on the floor.
Okay, now discussion.
So, 200,000 is just going back to debt service, is that correct? It'll be an increase to debt service?
It's just a reclassified.
Or am I looking at this wrong? It says.
We're just reclassifying the two revenue, the lease rental revenue and the contribution estimates.
So it's being reclassified
Yes.
into other?
Yes. It actually increases fund balance is what it does.
That's what I'm asking. It goes back, it's going
Yes.
to actually increase fund balance.
It doesn't increase fund balance, it increases the use of fund balance. We had it in there twice.
That's what I'm not understanding. It's
And
in
we
there
only
twice
should-
And we're taking one and putting it back.
No, we're removing one, otherwise you'd count the sale twice. We
So
paid,
we
we
were-
paid debt off.
So we were going to reduce it by 400 and now we're reducing it by 200?
No, we budgeted for it, and then I think we did in the original budget, because we were anticipating the sale. Then we came back at the same time we did the actual transaction and presented it to you to actually pay the debt off. We doubled it at that time and should not have.
Okay.
If you'll recall what that was, it was a debt instrument of the Public Building Authority it was a loan between the Public Building Authority and Blount County. Blount County had a separate lease agreement with the Drug Task Force. So when the Drug Task Force said they were ready to pay that off, which they had the right to do under the lease, we got a payoff on the note, and then we told them what that was. They had to pay the rent in advance, so we had to recognize the increase in revenue because we weren't planning on that revenue. They were accelerating their lease payments for the purpose of paying the debt off.
Okay.
Any other discussion? I'll now ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kirby? Lewis? Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes.
Samples? The motion's passed.
Okay, item G is discussion for possible action. One being the fiscal year 2014-2015 budget calendar updates. Yes.
Are we going to go back and address FTB, the trustees, $30,000 transfer?
But we can do it next month. We'll just do it next month.
Is that okay? Okay. Item G is any discussion
Just to make you aware, we had omitted one of the offices off the budget schedule, the budget hearing schedule, and we've added them, and that's what you have in front of you. And then we have moved one from one day to the second day, or from the second day to the first day. So that just keeps you apprised, and that'll be updated on the website as well. Just as a point of information, what we'll try to do is actually have a detailed schedule for the actual hearing dates and kind of have some order for how those budgets will be heard.
Is there any questions or discussion on that budget calendar? Does anybody have any comments they want to make? Okay, moving on to G2 on the opinion on the tax rate. Is there any questions on that? Seeing none, moving on to the report on the hospital debt obligations.
Yes.
Randy, you want to?
This is a piece of information that's required by state law. This pertains to the last piece of refinancing that the hospital did. They had a piece of debt that they were able to refinance, and actually I think they went ahead and paid a piece of the principal off at the same time they were refinancing. They just lowered their borrowing cost to 1.68%. This form, the CT 0253 form, is required by the Comptroller's office. This form actually is slightly different from the one you were acquainted with last month on the earlier refinancing of the hospital and the county's debt, and that's because the Comptroller's office revised the form in January for all financings that have been done since then, which this one falls under. And this is just a point of information. It's required by state law that we present it to you, and it should flow on through to County Commission.
Does anybody have any more questions or any discussion on that? Okay, moving on to, go on. Does all, these don't?
It should just
for
go
information
for
only?
information only onto the full commission. State law doesn't require any action be taken. It just requires it be presented for full disclosure to the legislative body.
Mr. Chairman, could you have, Mr. Benner, do you know what, what the rate was? 1.68 before the refinancing. Do you have that?
I don't have that in front of me.
It's not important, thank you.
I think it was, I want to say it was double that. This is, the refinancing is about half of what the original rate was.
Item H, that's finance reports, and that's information only. You have it in your packet. No questions on that. Item I, input on items not on the agenda. Yes, Linda.
Thank you. I'm Linda King. Mr. Mayor, since you're head of the Purchasing and Budget Committee, I'll address my 3 questions on the same subject to you. Number 1, what is the status of the request for bid proposal on outsourcing HR and payroll? In other words, have we accepted a bid, and if so, for what amount? Question 2, if we decide to proceed with this outsourcing, will the full commission get to vote on the decision? And number 3, since outsourcing work to an outside firm can cause information to become private property of the contractor, will you guarantee without a doubt that the commission, the public, and the media will have full access to what should be open records?
Can you submit that to me and let me get back with you on all of those questions?
I will. I would like an answer publicly. I can ask at the next meeting if you can have the answer. I think it's important for the community, but I will submit those to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any other items not on the agenda, any input? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. So be it.